I would like to explore the specific topic of face recognition. This is almost a standalone facet of vision and computer sciences, in that the brain has specialist techniques and even regions to deal with such an important perceptual function. It can be studied in partial isolation. I know nothing about this subject, and the presentation will not discuss findings. What stood out for me was the inadequacy of the stimuli used, and the near total reliance on them. The vast majority of the studies carried out were reliant on the presentation to subjects of grayscale photographs of faces. Piles of statistics and algorithms ensue to assist facial identification from photographs. But what can they possibly mean in relation to our everyday encounter with people? Vision Space identifies that there are two independent datasets available to us on a monocular basis, and therefore four on a binocular basis. These takes on reality have to be mediated by mind, based on our intent in the world. There are absolutely no still frames. For more on this, see Vision Space presentations covering the structure of monocular and binocular phenomenal field, together with the processes of information exchange. When we first select a fixation point, we simply place one dataset inside the other, central vision appearing within the dataset associated with peripheral vision. If we keep that fixation point dwelling on the same subject matter, then an active exchange of information sets occurs through time. This starts with us suppressing half of central vision, letting the dataset associated with peripheral vision to be juxtaposed alongside a vertical axis with that of central vision. This sets up an asymmetry. We can see that Cezanne recorded this very accurately in the blue vase. The vase itself is asymmetric about the vertical axis. The plate behind it has two separate ellipses, and there's a different order of information rendered in each half. Some of the other facets of perceptual structure are recorded in previous Vision Space presentations. The asymmetries are referenced in virtually all free-form artworks, where the record is made from a real setting without the geometry of perspective being set up to guide the approach. Look at the Bonnard, upper right. Here, central vision exerts a volume of influence around the fruit bowl. In front of it, the sugar bowl is symmetrical but flat, the same with the other fruit bowl behind. There isn't time to go into all the potential connotations, but here we can quickly consider the Van Gogh sunflowers and perceive a rather flat 2D rendition. It's almost diagrammatic. The texture of the paint on the flower heads adds to the flat effect. Factor in the vase, fixate on that, and then look up at the flowers. They now hold a spatial array. The asymmetry of the vase tells us something. Its influence overrides the textures. We create the saliency of vision as much as we detect it. I now want to concentrate on what happens at the perimeter of central vision. Remember the Bonnard with the volume encompassing the object held in fixation? I want to explore this without the asymmetries being brought into play, as though I had just fixated on the object and had not got round to modulating the available datasets. What if the object in fixation extended out to violate the spatial volume of central vision, spilling into the peripheral dataset? I set up a still life to explore this. The candelabra triptych looks first at one candle holder, then at the bulbous part of the stem, then at the intersection of the arms. Notice the disconnect of the drawn arms at the circumference of the central vision volume. The dataset associated with peripheral vision and that of central vision do not align. The drawing of these encounters was accomplished by fixating on the selected point and plotting or drawing first what I could of central vision, and then doing the same, concentrating on what was occurring in peripheral vision. Different forms of attention govern each area, and they preside over different takes on the real setting being observed. How do these structures play out in face perception? I took a photograph and manually transformed it using a standard software package in line with the Vision Space processes, fixating first on the right eye, and then the left, and then the mouth, finally on the bottle of perfume. When fixated on the right spot, the face looks natural. I certainly feel like I'm looking at somebody as opposed to a picture. Now look at the sequence without the black spaces. The transitions between fixations are difficult. Certainly nothing like that occurs in vision. We certainly don't morph between fixations. The process of information exchange will ultimately be something akin to the imperceptible transformations identified in the presentation that deals with the process of information exchange taking place within phenomenal field. If these fixation-based vision space compositions are actually occurring within phenomenal field, then we should be able to find comparable stimuli being produced by visual artists working from life models. Mondigliani works a treat. And of course there's Picasso, who took the process to extremes. I took this picture of one of my daughters and gave it the treatment. The right-hand one is closer to how I encountered her in those days. Looking in a mirror, this grumpy sod looked back at me. Mondigliani looked at the woman's right eye, i.e. the left as we look at the painting. Now look at the child. The distortions are those that would take place at the edge of central vision. A significant disconnect is faithfully recorded. Each fixation made within a scene would set off some serious rearrangements from a baseline photographic record. So taking a photo of a one-time publicans at my local, I set about recreating 3 experiential fixations from the camera record. Should we be surprised that modern visual artists like Bacon record themselves like this? Here he makes multiple fixations around the head in each frame. Remember the uncomfortable morphs between the head on the Chanel advert? Bacon never found these paintings grotesque disfigurements and couldn't understand why others did. They are beautiful renditions of the act of visual appreciation of form involved in facial examination. The point was of course made by Magritte a good while back. This is not a face. The photograph does not stand in for an encounter with a human being. So what do the results taken from experimentation using stimuli from the camera mean? We desperately need an academic vision space programming architecture that does accurately mimic the structure and dynamic of phenomenal field, in order that the significant influence of the photographic filter can be accounted for in such experimentation. As a visual artist, I've never been much impressed with virtual reality. I titled this triptych Virtually Blind, which, working from right to left of the 3 heads, has our society virtually become